I think what was very interesting in the John Slang presentation is that indeed e-commerce is a very strong growing part of logistics, but it's not a completely independent asset class. It's part of the global logistic asset class. Currently, it has a weight that is 15% depending on the commerce, but meaning that the rest is still traditional logistic. What I think is interesting is what we are seeing is a bit of difference in between the pure player, as you show in your presentation, Alexandra, but also with more, let's say, e-retailer moving from pure retail to the combination of e-commerce and traditional retail through the multi-channel or the omni-channel, which is a very interesting now evolution of the way logistics is happening in our warehouse.
It has been a very strong tailwind for the demand across Europe, I think, and as you say, you have to distinguish between the pure play e-commerce players and the omni-channel retailers. And I think there's still a lot of growth to come. To connect to the presentation, I agree with the conclusion there. Within our portfolio, we have a number of retailers who play the omni-channel game, if you can say so, and they are having a lot of challenges in designing their new supply chain, but also in figuring out how they can make that e-commerce portion profitable as a part of their total retail sales. Not only location choice, but also how to configure your supply chain are key questions which our customers are facing today. But it will definitely lead to a strong demand going forward.
Yeah, what we see with the e-commerce trend is that it got stronger the last 3-4 years, and we don't see it just as a driver for take-up of logistics space, but we see it more as a structural drivers for logistics demand the last 2-3 years and going forward as well. It's a young industry, or a young trend relatively, and even e-commerce companies are still adapting or reinventing a little bit their supply chain or how it should go. And we're learning a lot from what's happening in more internet, where the internet penetration is higher, like in the US, for example, so the satellite warehouses or the reverse logistics or being closer to consumption centers is being more and more on the agenda of the e-commerce companies. And what we've learned as well is that e-commerce is not only for the big boys or the big sheds. We've done 8% of our leases last year, for example, were on e-commerce, and we're in normal logistics building 20, 30, 40,000 square meters, not necessarily big, million square foot or 100,000 square meter with multi-level mezzanine. But we can also talk about where we can see the trend going later on in the presentation.
Yeah. E-commerce is only 5% of the total logistics market. It's like everybody's talking about it, but in hindsight, it's a really, really small component of the market still. So certainly we see some growth, but it's not one of the fundamental drivers of logistic real estate. So I think there are other components as well, but it certainly helps to make logistics a bit more emotional, touchable. So investors see through this e-commerce the thing that logistics is an important asset class, and there we see a lot of influx of money, so to say.